Alrighty, well, today for a brand new episode of A Peek Behind the Lines, I've got Sean from Make Them Suffer joining me. Sean, thank you for hanging out with me on the opposite side of the world today.
No worries.
Well, right now, as I said, we are talking in very different countries while Make Them Suffer continues some touring world domination. But of course, this June, you'll be back on home soil and embarking on a huge regional run. Now, you may need to correct my maths here, but I believe it's been almost 6 years since you last ticked off a regional tour. How is my maths there?
Yeah, maths is also not my strong suit. I'm just trying to think back to the last time we did a regional tour was, yeah, I think it was with Diamond Construct and
We can definitely say it's been a few years. I think we can agree on
yeah,
that.
right,
And
sure.
for myself, as someone who allegedly lives in a regional town, aka on the Gold Coast border, I know how awesome it is when bands add places like even the Gold Coast to their touring hit list. And we're only an hour away from a capital city. So a lot of these places on the upcoming run will be jumping for joy and or jumping headfirst into the mosh pit come June. But it's been really awesome seeing bands and particularly heavy bands really continuing to embrace regional touring. From your perspective, how important is it to get to town slightly off the beaten track, especially when there's been a couple of years in between?
Super important. I think that, a lot of those towns and communities don't really get a lot of live heavy music, or, when they do, it's not always the band they want to see, or a lot of bands just like never tour regionally, I think. And I think that's a big mistake because I think there's a lot to be gained from both sides of concert attendees and, yeah, people performing that can be gained from playing in regional shows. So yeah, we're super pumped. We're kind of making up for lost time, as you said. We've had such a busy kind of schedule since, as you said, the last regional tour was like 6 years ago, and then it's just been like flat out since COVID, doing a lot of international tours, doing the album and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice to it's something we've been putting off for a while, and we've been watching other bands go through and do their regional tours, been super sort of like a bit jealous of a bit of FOMO sort of thing for missing out on the opportunity to do that. So we're stoked to finally be able to get through and do a regional tour for, yeah, first time in ages.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not like those six, whatever we want to call it, X amount of years have been just you guys sitting there idly. You have packed so much into that time. But given it's been a little while, like what are your memories of regional crowds? Like how different are we talking from, say, like even just general Australian audiences and even like European and UK audiences that you're experiencing at the moment?
Well, I think the guards are down a little bit in the sense that, regional shows are just more like inherently casual. We're not bringing as much of a big stage production or anything like that. We don't have massive TV screens behind us or anything like that with all our graphics. For the most part, it's just going to be, back to basics with like a pretty stripped back kind of, an emphasis on like a high energy kind of like hardcore show feel. And I don't know, that it's just because of the setting of a lot of the places that you're playing a lot of like regional pubs and that sort of thing. It is more casual, and I think when you're playing a gig like that, it's a lot more fun can be had in a way, and there's that sort of bond between the performing artist and the audience that's, we're not taking this all that seriously. We're just here to kind of like have fun, and there's a bit of a vibe in the room. You know what I mean? It's almost like a little party with everyone. So yeah, I do find regional shows to be a little more fun in that sense, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very well put. And I think too, it's such a privilege to be able to see a band like Make Them Suffer. I mean, you look at the shows you guys have been playing recently, and even the massive headline run you did in Australia last year. Like, you played a huge crowd, so let's not beat around the bush. And it's just kind of that. I don't know if privilege makes it sound really formal, but it's just really enjoyable to still be able to have those shows that we all kind of grew up going to as well. I think it's really nice to still be able to get some of that sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, as I say, we're making up for a bit of lost time here with the regional tour. Do you know, are we playing Mackay?
Yes, you
MAC?
are. It's sold out too.
That's going to be a good one. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing Mackay specifically because um, I remember our first ever Australian tour was just in support of a band called State of East London back in 2011. And I remembered this was one of those tours I've talked about in other interviews where we like didn't buy a van, or we didn't rent a van, we didn't sort of book plane flights between shows. So we were just kind of like rocked up on the east coast of Australia, and we're like, yeah, we're just gonna like find our way to the concert somehow, like ask people to give us lifts or like catch taxis and ferries and that sort of thing, and catch public transport, carrying all our amps and gear and stuff. And that was about a 3 week tour. Within about 5 days, the first 5 days of that tour, we ran out of money and we couldn't afford to go to a handful of shows. And then we finally
Wow.
managed to get to one of the other band's vans, and they drove us around for the remainder of them. But Mackay was one of the shows that we missed back then in 2011. And we got reports from the other band that were on the bill that when they heard we weren't playing the show, they like apparently it was the venue was kind of like it was kind of falling apart, and people just completely trashed the venue, and kitchen sinks were ripped off the wall, and like I
Oh
don't know
my
if it,
God.
um, sorry for that, Mackay, but we're making it up for you with this one. So.
Well, I'm senile. I had to check. Not only is it sold out, not only are you going to Mackay, it is the first show of this entire tour. So this feels fitting.
Starting it off with a bang, that's great.
Hell yes, it was meant to be. And you will, of course, be joined on this regional run by Justice for the Damned and the Gloom in the Corner nationally. And as if that is not stacked enough, you also have some amazing Aussie talent opening throughout the tour. But as for the two national supports, what are you most looking forward to about spending time with Justice for the Damned and the Gloom in the Corner when this regional tour kicks off? Have there been any shenanigans planned?
Um, well, I've known Kieran from Justice for quite a long time. There'll be a lot of like yeah, I'm meeting a lot of people in those bands for the first time, or like, I've just said hello in passing or shaken their hand kind of thing. So it's going to be nice meeting a handful of new people. In terms of what they bring to the package, I'm super excited for both the bands. I don't think we've actually played with Justice for, well, we haven't played with either of the bands once yet. So I'm super excited. I've seen live videos of both of the bands and know that they both deliver like a very like high energy, heavy set, which is kind of what we were looking for this. And I think it's pretty fitting for something like a regional tour. But yeah, I mean, Justice for the Damned is just a name that I've been hearing for a very long time and been listening to, keeping up with them and following every single that's been released. I believe they released a single only a couple of days ago, actually, or
Yeah.
soon. Like, yeah, I haven't gotten around to checking it out just yet with the reception we're getting a lot over here and everything. But yeah, the stuff I've heard of Justice in the past, super sick. Just a great heavy band, and yeah, and then Gloom. Yeah, I've wanted to tour with Gloom for quite a while, particularly just because Mikey. Mikey's lyrics are very interesting, I think, and he's got this whole concept, this narrative that flows through their albums and music videos and all that sort of stuff. And it kind of, yeah, it reminds me of, the Never Bloom and Old Souls days when I used to write more conceptual lyrics. So it's cool to, yeah, have a band like that on the package. I don't think we've actually ever toured with a band that has like a strong lyrical narrative. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But you know, most importantly, I've seen videos of them and they look like they're a really, really good live band. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so essentially, Mackay and every other venue, please lock up your sinks and or other things by the sound of it. To close us out today, Make Them Suffer are an extremely well-traveled band at this point. So a two-part travel question for you here. Is everyone in the band good packers at this point in time? And what is a non-negotiable item for you to always take with you when you're on the road?
I could say with the utmost confidence at this point that everyone is a really good packer at this point, because for this tour we were not allowed to bring uh, any check-in luggage. So everyone has just a 7 kilogram handheld piece of that's the luggage that they brought for the whole tour. So for me, that means like 10 pairs of underpants, 10 pairs of socks, literally 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, and my stage outfit. And
Damn.
yeah, it's pretty concise. Um, things that I bring that are like extras, I suppose, or a little bit, uh, you know, uh, unique, I suppose. I bring a silk pillow slip
Very cool.
because, but I just find that when you arrive on these like buses and in like a lot of the cheaper hotel rooms. Like I'm in the budget Ibis right now, and like I'm overlooking the McDonald's car park, and it's it's a
Hell
bit sketch. So I think that you get given just you get supplied with a pillow and like a doona in these buses, and quite often everyone just wakes up super congested, just feeling terrible. Everyone gets sick at least like once on a tour as a rule of thumb. It's pretty unavoidable, especially when one person gets sick, the air conditioning is just blowing it all around the bus or whatever. So it's really hard to avoid. And I just, I'm not that comfortable with the fact that like hundreds and hundreds of people in bands have sweated on stage. Maybe some of them grotty and they didn't shower after the show, and then they slept on this pillow that I'm about to use. And silk pillow slips are like hypoallergenic or whatever, so they would repel some of the like dust mites or bacteria that might be
Yeah.
there. So that's a non-negotiable for me, I'd say. Just
Yeah.
because I'm a bit meticulous about that sort of stuff. But yeah, any other special things? Yeah, I can't think of anything else at this point. But yeah,
So I think that's a hot tip for everyone and something that's often probably underlooked. And as a recent silk pillowcase convert, I can confirm they are amazing. So I think that's a perfect note to end on.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Sean, for chatting today. Bring on June and July for Make Them Suffer's regional Australian domination. Have the best time finishing up overseas, and we will see you soon.
No worries. Thank you.